Salutations and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at the last of the lines of Vergil's second Eclogue, that being 66 through 73. But first, last time, and for the final last time of Vergil's second Eclogue, with Frigius, Maximus, Calamitus roaring in the background. We've got a really long one today. Probably should have broken it into two. Oh well. Nothing for it. My videos are tending longer anyway. Here is our rubric, everything that we look for as we go through the text. Let's get started. Aspice, arata hugo referunt suspensa juvenci, et sol crescentus decendens duplicat umbras. Me tamen uret amor, quis enim modus adsit amori? Ah, cordon, quae te dementia cepit. Semeputata tibi frondosa vitis in ulmo est, quin tu aliquid saltem potius quorum indiget usus, vininibus molique paras detexere iunco, Eugenius alium si te hic vestidit alex. So a bit of resignation there at the end. We start off with a imperative, auspice, e right there. This comes, I think, just from auspico, auspicere, which would be a third. So this is a second singular present tense active imperative. That's not where the cross of the T goes. And I think at this point, Cordon is turning and talking to himself. He's made his final appeal in the last one, calling Alexis a demented fool, which is not going to be helpful. And now he is being, for the last time, confronted with reality. Arata is not a verb. Hugo looks like it could be a verb, but this is in fact a ablative, so it doesn't work. Referunt, here we do have our verb. This comes from refero, refere, retuli, relatum. So this is going to be off the present stem. unt as our ending. Yeah, that's right. Third, singular, present. But who is doing the referring? This means the hanging, the holding up, the propping up. That's going to be the juvenci. I write there for a nominative plural masculine, and this is a word for young men. Or it could also be young bullocks, working cows, things like that. Suspensa is going to be an adjective modifying arata, which is our Latin word for plows. Arata is a accusative plural neuter, which means I presume it's aratrum, but I didn't think to look that up. Yeah, sorry. Then hugo means a yoke or a team, so this is going to be ablative singular neuter as well. And so we have hung plows with a yoke, with a team, or we could say on a team. If we take juvenci as our young men and hugo referring to the cows who are doing the work, then what we've got going on, green and yellow tells me, I would have not known this, is that the plowing is done, so then they hang the plowing implements on the back of the bulls to lead them forward. So they've got the suspensa plows on this team of oxen. So yeah, there you go. Who knew? And I realized that I said referunt mint what suspensa actually means. Sorry. Probably won't have thought to put a note there either. Moving on, et sol crescentus decadens duplicat umbras. Sol is our subject here, nominative, singular, masculine. The sun, crescentus with our is, and that nt we know is going to be a genitive, singular, but the gender of this present active participle I am not quite sure of at the moment. So decadens, ens, right there is going to be the nominative, singular, present active participle referring to sol as its subject. Duplicat is going to be our main verb with that at right there. Duplico, duplicare. It's a first conjugation, therefore indicative, third singular off the present stem. And then umbras as the direct object of duplicat, which then actually brings up a different option, which I forgot about until now, but I keep bringing up all the time. It doesn't have to be genitive singular. In this, instead, this is could be an accusative plural to match the umbras. What would crescentus be owning as a genitive? Crescentus means growing, rising, spreading, but decadens means departing, retiring. So the sun departing of growing. Now that doesn't make any sense. Instead, what we could have here is we've got these words all sandwiched in amongst themselves. Crescentus, if that's a is acting as a accusative plural modifying umbras, is sorry. The sun is doubling the growing clouds while the sun itself is departing. So it's going down and the clouds are multiplying. And I don't know what Vergil is talking about here. I've seen sunsets and the sun doesn't tend to multiply the clouds. There is that, you get a little bit more definition higher up on the clouds depending on where the sun is. Or maybe that's what he's talking about, the shadows on the tops of the clouds. You can see better at this time of day, so it looks like the clouds have grown. Maybe, I don't know. So then we turn back to Cordon himself with me, an accusative singular. Tamen, meaning yet. And now we have our verb here, uret. Uret is a pretty weird one that I don't know that I've seen before, except in a lexicon. This is from uro, urere, and then we get this funky, perfect, usi, ustum, or usi, ustum. I think both of those U's are short, while the present stem one is long. It means to burn, and then we've got amor as our nominative singular masculine. The sun is descending while the clouds are growing. The young men are returning from their work, which means Cordon is now realizing that he's not doing his own work. It's getting towards evening and he's got duties, and love is burning him. Quis quid, for questions. We have our verb with ad sit, which tells us with the sit there from sum esse fui is a subjunctive, third singular, present. Well, what's our subject again? We've got modus could be the subject. Quis. We do have a question here. So modus is masculine. US right there. Modus, I think modus modus as well. It's a fourth. I want to say no. You got modo. So it's got to be, I don't remember. This could be one of those words where it's both for second and fourth, but we only have this form here, so that's all that really matters. And I think there is a modo, so probably second. So for what mode, what measure, what limit is present, and then amori, amoris, amori. This is going to be dative, singular, masculine, dative of advantage or disadvantage, as may be nominative, singular, masculine. And in post-positive has to appear after the first word in its clause, so it's appearing in the right place. Nominative, singular, masculine as well. I think I'm going to go with what I said earlier. So then we can have Cordon either asking, is there a right amount of love? But I don't think that makes much sense, especially since we've got the imagery of the ending of the day, the ending of the work coming here. So Instead, limit, as in time. What limit is there to love? And well, it appears that he's reaching it, or it will when we finally get down to line 73. Let's move on. Cordon, cordon. So both of these are going to be vocatives as he's talking to himself. This is the same A or AH spelling, exclamation. Quae te dementia cepit. Cepit is our verb. We have that E right there from capio, capere, capi. So third, singular, perfect tense, active, and indicative with te as our accusative singular, referring back to cordon. Quae modifying dementia, singular with the singular verb, nominative, feminine. And this is a callback to, what line was that? Let me pull up the page. Line 60, Demens, where he called Alexis a demented fool, and now he's saying, good, we're still in focus, that he's not saying, he's realizing that he's the one who's the demented fool. He's the one who's mad for going after Alexis. Alexis, as I think I said a number of lines ago, probably isn't even aware. But let's write this down. Moving on, semepta is a pretty weird-looking word. I think this may be the only place it appears in Latin. It's some sort of technical term having to do with the cultivation of grapes. The green and yellow tells me that in order to have properly ripe grapes, you have to trim the grapevine itself and then whatever it's growing on, so that the leaves don't fully cover the grapes from the sunlight. So something involving photosynthesis, probably. I don't know, but that's what this is talking about. So semi-putata, mean like half pruned. Frondosa here is leafy, and then vitis is our word for vine, or possibly vines. In ulmo, prepositional phrase, est, they've inserted to make sense of this. I don't know if it appears in any of the editions. If it did, I don't think there would be brackets around it. In plus the ablative in this case, and singular. This is, yeah, it's feminine normally, though it is a US ending word, so second declension feminine. Est as the singular, which means vitis can be our subject, as this is vitis is feminine. And what does it mean? Vines. I think I already said that. So vine, but frondosa, specifically a leafy vine, nominative singular. Semeputata also then refers to the vines. And then tibi is going to be referring to cordon, since he's already talking to himself. Dative singular. This could be, again, advantage, reference, disadvantage. In ulmo, in elm. So then what's going on here is they have the grapevines growing up on an elm tree rather than like a fence that we would have these days. So I imagine that they also knew how to do that. But it's probably easier to grow it on an elm than it is to grow it on a fence. So as I said, I think this is referring to work that cordon still has to do before he can go to bed. Quin, this comes from the old ablative form of quid with na tacked on the end, so the D dropped out and the E dropped out. And it means why not? To, we want to find our verb, not a verb, not a verb, not a verb. Subordinate clause, so that can't be it either, but we do have indiget. This is indigeo, so second conjugation. And it takes a genitive, which is what we see here with our usus. Third, singular, present, active, indicative. But we'll come back to that. Or usus. That is a long U, though. The genitive's right there. Wiminibus is a word for switches, but it's still not a verb. Molique paras. Here is our verb. As for a second person singular present tense of this very, at least for beginning Latin users, well-known verb. It was for me. I think the first book that I learned from, and the second book that I learned from had it all the time, and then what I used to teach, yeah, it was one of the more common ones. It's a very useful verb. To prepare. Active and indicative, and it's taking detexere as its object, re for a present active infinitive, and then detexere needs to take its own object, which we see all the way back here with aliquid, accusative, singular, neuter. And then 2 is nominative singular, quin is a conjunction. So then, why do you not prepare detexere to weave another? And then we've got all these other words going on. Saltem is an adverb, and it means saved anyhow or at all events. So this is, I think, can go with quin. It's just talking about the situation that we're in. And then potius, I think, is either the adjective or the adverb of possum. So it means more able, more ably, either of those options. If it's more able as an adjective, then it would be accusative, singular, neuter, and can't refer to cordon because he's a male and he's a human being, so that's an impossibility. So instead, the adverb, I think, is correct, in which case it goes with paras. Why not, at all events, do you prepare more ably to weave another what? Well, whatever one normally weaves, with womenibus and molique. So this is a ablative. We're not going to need a dative. Plural, neuter, and it means switch or twigs. And then molique, this is molis. So this I is also going to be an ablative, but singular, and it's going to be going with junco, our other ablative, singular, masculine. These two together. And junco is a rush twig specifically. So we've got switches and rush twigs being made into whatever aliquid's supposed to be, some sort of basket probably. Another task that he's supposed to do, I think. And then quorum, indiget usus, of which is just the entire main clause. Or it could be the genera that aliquid is, of which practice is needed, or of which practice he needs. I don't know. This might be saying that cordon is very used to this, so he's very skilled at it, hence the potius. Or it could be talking about a schedule. Use has need, of which. So maybe they're running low on baskets. Beats me. But I'll write this down and come back. And now we reach our final sentence. Uenes. This is our verb for finding ueno. Es right there. It's ueno, uenire. So we have subjunctive. We beat a giant. No, it can't be subjunctive because that would be an as. Instead, this must be with the es. It must be a second person, singular, future tense, active, and indicative. Alium, right there for accusative, singular, masculine. Subordinate clause, we'll come back to that later. Alexin, in right there, we already recognize as accusative, singular, masculine, again, referring to alium. You will find another Alexis. See, if, te, accusative, singular, object. Hic, from hic, haec, hoc, will need to be nominative, singular, masculine. Fastidit, I think we saw this earlier in Amaryllis, rejected cordon, so this also means the same as it would have meant back then, if it actually did appear there. This is green and yellow, pointed to that. May have been referring to the previous chapter, I don't know. But festidit means to be disgusted, to scorn, to loathe, to despise. So if this one despises you, you is still going to be referring back to cordon. So he's saying if Alexis still doesn't acknowledge me, there will be another. So he's resigned, given up on Alexis. But third singular present. And there we have it. Thank you very much for joining me. Let's go through it one more time to make sure that I actually wrote down something that makes sense, and then I'll bid you farewell. Look on. Should be capitalized. Already a mistake. Plows, having been hung on yoke, young men bring back. and sun departing doubles or rising clouds. Yet me love burns. For what limit may be for love? Ah, cordon, cordon, what madness has taken you? For you half-pruned leafy vine on elm there is. Why not, at all events, you another, of which use needs, with switches and soft rush twig more ably prepare to weave? You will find another, if this one scorns you. Alexis. I hope you have a very good day. Well,